Hi, and welcome to week 4 of the inaugural One Campus, One Book program. Thank you so much for joining us again. I just wanted to remind you that you can still get your book. We have $5 books that are available for you to order at ou.edu/onebook. But we're here today to discuss chapter 3, which is innovation. So joining us today is the Dean of the Price College of Business, Daniel Pullin. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So to begin with, I think the chapter covers innovation. I think the overall question is, does America still have that innovative advantage?
Yeah. Well, I think the book points out a number of important points, certainly points that, true to its title, indicate that it is time to start thinking. And in many respects, the book really paints the picture that the innovative advantage, should it still exist, that gap is at least closing. And so the way to answer the question is, yes, America still has the innovative advantage, but there are some things that we really need to pay attention to. So for example, the book cites the notion of innovation has historically been America's get-out-of-jail-free card, and I think that in many respects that's a nice way to characterize it. We have a really great recent example in the energy industry, which is a little bit over 13% of GDP, historically perhaps the most important industry in Oklahoma and this part of the nation. And over time, we had seen in the recent decades America lose its edge in that sector, and increasingly reliant on foreign oil and so on. But through innovation, things like horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing, the types of things, research advancements that occur in universities all the time, those types of innovative breakthroughs have allowed that industry in America to once again lead to the point where we're talking about not only being energy independent, but maybe a net exporter, which is a true economic miracle for the country, as well as additive to our geopolitical strength. And then I think you have to also look at just some of the infrastructure that undergirds America, and particularly how commerce is performed, things like strong property rights, intellectual property law that allows you to really, kind of in the words of Abraham Lincoln, where you can really add interest to the fuel of interest to the fire of genius, right? Being able to protect your ideas and then monetize your intellectual property is a really great advantage that we've led the world in. We have very strong intellectual property laws. And then things, even on the downside, like bankruptcy protection. So it really is, it's okay to fail. Our bankruptcy laws will protect the budding entrepreneur in this country, so to the point where if a business idea fails, it's not like we're going to put that entrepreneur in a debtor's prison, never to be seen in society again. Our entrepreneurs can, dust off their pants, get back up on their feet, and try again, and be additive to society, additive to economic development and prosperity. And so I do think that we still have the innovative edge, but the gap is closing. We really have to really pay attention to things like, for example, the electoral cycle and sort of how money is influencing political campaigns today, and how maybe that's adjusting the risk-seeking nature of some of our political leaders. They're having to increasingly cater to a particular base to be able to have the finances to be successful in elections, and it prevents them in many respects from spending all their hours actually leading the country because they're out fundraising, and then B, maybe not being able to take that long view because really their future employment, their future opportunity in that position is really limited by the next electoral cycle. And then I think likewise, even on the corporate side, notions of public companies and quarterly earnings reports, senior managers stay in their jobs if they hit their numbers, and sometimes hitting your numbers means seeking near-term opportunity, perhaps at the expense of long-term investment. And so it is becoming, even in corporate America, increasingly difficult to take that long-term view, which has historically been the hallmark of sustained innovation.
Okay. So what can we do to support innovation, and what is being done at OU specifically to do this?
Sure. Well, being in a university environment, I think the most obvious thing we should do, and should do at increasing levels, both at the state and federal levels, is fund higher education. I think it's just over 90% of all startups are the product of a college graduate. And so there are a number of successful entrepreneurial ventures that are the product of, say, a college dropout, and those get a lot of publicity because it's so remarkable. Yeah. But if you look at the numbers, over 90% of startups are by college graduates, and so the more we can invest in higher education, the more likely we're going to see additional startup companies, new ideas, new products, new services that drive the economy and raise the quality of life. And in particular, I think investment in fields like science, technology, engineering, and math, and business, I think collectively over 80% of startup companies are founded by someone with one of those academic backgrounds. And so really making targeted investments could be quite wise to drive innovation and grow this economy and ensure America has a sustainable edge. I would also say that at the university, we are working hard to bring innovation and creativity to bear for our students, for our faculty, staff, and even community members, in Oklahoma, by creating new and interesting spaces and programs such as what we're doing on the university's research campus. It's 277 acres of what was just virtually a field just over a decade ago, which now is home to 1,700 knowledge-based jobs, 15 or so private sector companies, multiple federal agencies, some of OU's targeted most successful research activities and assets. It really is creating an innovation ecosystem where we're connecting the dots, .com, the private sector, .gov, the public sector, and then .edu, the university. We need more of those creative spaces, more of that collaboration, because it's when those minds come together that these intellectual collisions can occur and breakthroughs can follow.
And so how do we bring innovators to America? And then how do we keep innovators in America? Both kind of recent struggles that Luce discusses.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important. Again, you just go to the data. Over half of our science researchers today, and I think in the book it even cites maybe 70% of PhDs in physics are immigrants. And so we do have this exciting installed base of people born in other countries that are at least spending a portion of their time and their careers here. But the investment we're making as a nation in providing world-class education, where America still maintains its lead, it's a deep investment. And so for us to create policies or perhaps not attend to the right social environment that's conducive for immigrants to build their lives and careers here in the long run it's foolish. We really have to think about what are the policies we can either adjust or put into place that makes it much simpler for, say, a college graduate that's maybe born in another country that's not a U.S. citizen to stay here and be a productive member of society here and grow our economy. I think raising the number of H-1B visas is one very specific thing we should be able to do. That process should be easier for a college graduate. I think that we have to look at our communities and see what can we do, certainly in a university community, but also in our towns and cities across Oklahoma and this country to make sure that we have an open, accessible, inclusive environment where we celebrate a diversity of people, a diversity of programs, and a diversity of ideas. And I think that should start not just with what we do at a university, but even all the way in early common education. I mean, every student in our country ought to have an opportunity at an early part in their academic career, or maybe even in elementary school, to learn about the world's great religions and learn about cultures from across the globe, and really be raised and educated as they come into adulthood with an appreciation for diversity of people and diversity of ideas. And so that would be something specifically we could do to foster a more inclusive, open environment. I also think that we should celebrate the diversity in the community. I could see companies and civic organizations and universities coming together and having a variety of events that celebrates multiple cultures and it broadens exposure to multiple cultures, even for U.S. citizens born in this country. It's important to get the culture right as well as the policy right. The book is really instructive, and it does bring a lot of data to bear, and it sounds the alarm. It sounds the alarm, and that's great, and because it gives us now the platform around which to respond and to rise to action. And so I'm just really pleased that the University of Oklahoma and our student leaders are recognizing this, and the fact that we're reading this book together as a university, that we're having discourse like what we're engaging in today. I think that signals the leadership that the University of Oklahoma is taking nationally as we prepare our students to be the globally prepared leaders we need. I think it really says a whole lot about the spirit of the OU family, and speaks to the promise that we all have moving forward.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really loved what you had to say. We once again would love for you guys to comment either on the blog or this video, or you can join the conversation on Twitter using #OU1Book. So once again, thank you, and thank you for joining us.
No, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much.